Hey everyone, ever gone through something like this? Share a brief version, no names, in the comments. Stick around, the story starts now. I knew I shouldn't have come the second I stepped into that ballroom, but my sister begged me, said it would mean a lot if I showed up, just this once. I gave her a look, but I came anyway. Name's Rachel. I'm 36, Army intelligence, linguist. I live in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I sat at the edge of her table, third from the end, with my back to a mirrored column and both exits in view. Habit. I don't relax in rooms like this. Not around men like Ethan. He was in the middle of the table. Booming laugh, polished shoes, the type who shakes hands too hard and smiles too wide. Ethan lives for rooms like this. All he needs is a spotlight and someone to stand a little lower next to him. By the time the second round of drinks hit, he was already on his fifth story. You know Rach here? He jerked his thumb toward me. She's a real hero. Fluent in 8 languages, can decode enemy chatter, but don't ask her to carry a weapon. She's allergic to action. The table laughed. Then the table behind us laughed. Then the whole front half of the room. I didn't laugh. Ethan raised his glass like he was the best man at a wedding, grinning wide. She wins wars with verbs and vibes. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. My sister didn't look at me. She stared at her napkin like it might save her. Not a word, not even a glance. I could have stood up. I could have leveled him right there. But words don't move men who need you small to feel big. So I smiled just enough to look polite and took another sip of water. Then something flicked in the corner of my eye. A server froze by the drinks table, just for a second, and glanced toward the stage. A man in dress blues, tall, silver eagle on his collar, gave him a nod so slight it could have been a blink. But I caught it. The server moved fast after that. Too fast. Tray of flutes, all identical, but I saw the swap. I saw the drop, a thin vial, clear, slipped into one glass and spun gently with the stem. I stood up and crossed the room. The Navy commander reached for the glass. I put a hand on his forearm and whispered in German, Nicht trinken, es ist manipuliert. Don't drink it, it's been tampered with. He froze, then lowered the glass without a word. The server didn't notice me, but the commander noticed everything. The commander didn't blink. He set the champagne flute down like it was nothing more than the wrong vintage. Then he turned to the aide by the podium and gave the smallest nod I've ever seen. Blink and you miss it small, but it snapped something into motion. The music cut off mid-note. Lights dimmed a notch. 2 uniformed security officers moved in like they were checking the perimeter, casual but fast. They boxed in the server from both sides. No one else noticed, not yet. The commander kept smiling, still making polite conversation with the couple next to him. But his aide walked straight to a major in logistics, General Creighton, if I remembered the name right, and leaned down to whisper something. Creighton went pale. Then everything sped up. The server's tray hit the floor with a crash. Crystal shards everywhere. One of the guards already had him pinned, wrist twisted up between his shoulder blades. The other was reading his ID off a lanyard, like it was the punchline to a bad joke. Someone near the back gasped. A full table turned to look. Then Creighton shoved back from his seat, knocking over a chair. There's been a mistake, he said, too loud and way too fast. I authorized that service crew personally. No one answered him. The commander just tilted his head slightly. Another signal. 2 more men stepped in. Plainclothes, definitely federal. Creighton was in cuffs before he finished his second protest. And that's when the room stopped breathing. A few people stood. One woman dropped her phone. Chairs scraped, the kind of silence you only hear when everyone's trying to figure out what the hell they just saw. Ethan's smirk fell right off his face. He stood halfway, blinking like someone had unplugged him. Wait, Creighton? Sir, there's no way. There's got to be some confusion. He's the reason we even got the vendor contract signed in time for... Sit down, Mr. Wallace, one of the plainclothes said, not even looking at him. Ethan froze. He sat. I stayed still. Didn't flinch, didn't smile. Just watched the officers collect the poison glass and seal it inside a padded case with a tamper tag. Yellow evidence tape came out like it had been waiting all night. Then the whispers started. That's the woman who stopped him. She said something in German? Is she intel? No way. She was at Ethan's table. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. They kept looking over, not at Ethan, at me. He noticed. He leaned toward me, voice low and sharp. What the hell did you say to him? I didn't turn my head. Enough. You just embarrassed the entire chain of command. No, I said. They did that to themselves. He looked ready to explode, but the weight of the room was already shifting. Guests stepped away from our table, some out of suspicion, others out of curiosity. His name had meant something 5 minutes ago. Now it was an anchor around his neck. Someone across the ballroom pointed. Is that her? Ethan tried to laugh. It came out choked. She's just a linguist. Does all that back-end translation crap. Nothing you'd see on a mission brief. A younger officer shook his head. She knew what was in the drink before anyone else. And she spoke to the commander like she outranked the room. Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it again. He knew. He knew it was over. Security wrapped the broken glasses and collected the rest of the tray. The lights stayed low. Music didn't come back. The party was over and everyone knew it. I sat with my hands in my lap, silent, while the rest of the room tried to figure out who I was. And Ethan? He just sat there, shrinking smaller by the second. People stared, whispered, adjusted their name tags like it gave them a sense of order. I didn't move. My body stayed in that stiff GALA chair. But my mind dropped straight into ice. Not metaphorical ice. Real cold. Germany. Winter. 3 years back. I still remember the smell of frost coming through the cracked window, the way my fingers ached as I held the mic. We were jammed inside an old command van, tucked behind a hill south of the Czech border. Wind howled so loud we had to plug our ears between transmissions. The map was clear. There was no legal crossing where we needed to go. Not for another 20 clicks. We didn't have time, and that's when they handed me the headset. My job? Make the guards believe they were receiving orders from Berlin. I didn't wear rank. Didn't carry a weapon. I wasn't even in uniform. But I had something else. Voice, accent, authority. I studied the dialect for weeks. Eastern Saxony, layered with bureaucratic clip. I'd practiced the cough, the pause, even the background static. And when I spoke into that headset, I became the handler they'd been trained to obey. This is Referat 12, Zentralstelle. You're cleared for Durchlassgruppe 3. No inspection. Validate code Foxtrot Tango Sex. The guards stalled, asked a question I wasn't expecting, about load weight. I pivoted mid-sentence, threw in a phrase about Overwatch authorizations under NATO drill compacts. Total nonsense, but it sounded right. That was the trick. The line went dead for 5 seconds. Then the checkpoint opened. Just like that. Our convoy rolled through a crossing that didn't officially exist. No one fired. No one stopped us. They called me Asira after that. The one who walks people through the dark? It was half joke, half truth. They said I had a radar for things that didn't belong. Things that twitched instead of flowed. A breath held too long. A pause with weight. That's how I caught the vial at the gala. It wasn't magic. It was muscle memory. My brain tagging anomalies before I even realized it. The server's hesitation, the nod that wasn't meant to be seen, the unnatural stillness in the commander's face as he lifted the flute, it all hit the same nerve. The same one that got us through that checkpoint in the dead of winter, with snow crusted on the windshield and no plan B if I failed. I didn't carry a gun back then either, but I moved an entire unit with just my voice. And I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because someone had to catch the silence before it cracked wide open. Back in the gala chair, the voices buzzed around me. The room still hadn't found its footing. A few people whispered my name like it was classified. Ethan wouldn't meet my eye now. Good. Because I finally understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't some fancy party in a ballroom. This wasn't a roast or a snub or some family ego trip. This was the test, same as Germany. Only this time it wore medals and fake smiles. Same tension, same stakes, different battlefield. But I knew how to walk in the dark. I'd done it before, and I wasn't about to lose my footing now. The next morning smelled like bacon and ego. I sat at the end of my mom's kitchen table, still half in uniform, still half in that ballroom. The newspaper was folded near the coffee pot, untouched. Everyone acted like the night before had just been another dinner party. Like arrests hadn't happened, like a Navy commander hadn't nearly dropped dead in his seat. Ethan had a binder open in front of him. Charts, line graphs, stupid glossy pages with flags and barcodes. He tapped it like a sermon. These, he said pointing, are the actual supply chains that keep combat units from starving in the field. You've got your food, your fuel, your comms gear, all tracked, all on time. My mom nodded like he'd just solved the energy crisis. That's what I've always said. You need real logistics people behind the curtain, not just fancy intel stuff. He grinned. Exactly. I mean, not to knock Rachel's work, but you can't eat nuance. You can't power a truck with a verb laughter around the table. Not cruel, not even pointed. Just dismissive, like I didn't belong in the conversation at all. I buttered a piece of toast I didn't want and said nothing. My sister passed Ethan the butter like she was handing him a trophy. He's being modest. He got 4 procurement awards last quarter. His team moved 5 tons of comms gear to a remote post in Niger and shaved 20 grand off the cost. Oh, wow, my aunt chimed in. That's real impact. Not just chasing chatter on a screen, I could feel their eyes slide past me like I was just another chair. Ethan didn't miss the moment. He leaned back, coffee mug in hand. See, that's the thing. Field people get noticed. They get promoted. You don't climb doing invisible work. Even if it's useful, it's not actionable. I bit into the toast. Dry. Too much butter. Kept chewing. Like what even is your rank now? He asked me directly, like it was a casual thought. GS what? 12? 13? I swallowed and looked straight at him. Still enough to have access, you don't. The table went quiet for half a second. Then Ethan chuckled, light and dismissive. Touché. My mom clapped her hands once like a reset button. Let's not get competitive. You both serve in different ways. But let's be honest, Ethan's work is a little easier to explain to people. I didn't argue. I never did. Because what was the point? They needed Ethan to be the hero. Needed his wins to be loud and quantifiable so they could pin their hopes on someone who made charts instead of choices. Let them. I'd already seen who he was under pressure, and that smirk from last night wasn't coming back anytime soon. The next time I saw that ballroom, it smelled like bleach and fear. 2 nights after breakfast, I was back in uniform, pressed but plain, posted at the back wall like I was part of the decor. The gala had resumed. Different mood. No orchestra, just a looped playlist. Fewer guests, too many eyes. Everyone pretending nothing had happened. But the air was off. I needed space. Slipped out through a service door, cut left past the coat check, and found a narrow side corridor behind the storage annex. Dimension, quiet. Smelled faintly like carpet glue and lemon polish. I leaned against the wall, let my lungs catch up with the rest of me. Then I heard them. 2 voices around the corner, low but too focused to be casual. One was a young guy, fast talker, nasal. The other older, flat tone, cold. Already tagged the ghost pallets. You reroute them to the museum dock like we planned. The loading bays only clear at night. I've got surge orders to cover it, but only if the override tags hold. They will. We've run this play before. Just swap the destination on the manifest. The crates don't need to exist. Just show they moved. The younger one laughed. Yeah, but your kid in logistics better hold the line. He screws this up, we all get pulled. He won't. He's soft, but he loves attention. Shakes every damn hand in the room. You tell him he's helping win wars, and he'll salute a dumpster. Right, the younger guy said. Warfighter optics. My spine went rigid. Ghost pallets, override tags, museum dock. The kid who loves handshakes. I didn't breathe, didn't move, just locked it all in. The 2 men kept walking. Their voices faded, footsteps muffled on the carpet until the door at the far end clicked shut. I waited 10 seconds, counted each one. Then I stepped back into the hall. My heart wasn't racing. My mind was running triage. Ghost pallets weren't just stolen supplies, they were lies. Units listed as equipped when they weren't. Forward teams waiting on gear that never came. It wasn't just fraud, it was sabotage with paperwork. And someone with access, someone dumb enough to shake hands like he's running for prom king, was there in. I didn't say Ethan's name, not yet. I didn't need to force it. The facts would get there on their own. That's how this works. Follow the silence, not the noise. I re-entered the ballroom through a side curtain and took my seat. Ethan was at the bar, laughing loud enough to be heard over the music. His glass was full. Mine was empty, but I knew I was holding something a lot heavier. He raised his glass, head tipped back, some joke loud enough for the bartender to fake laugh at. I watched Ethan clink his drink against a Colonel's and slap him on the shoulder like they were old college buddies. His voice hit that pitch he always used when he thought eyes were on him. Mine were, but they weren't looking at the present. They were dragging me back to 3 weeks earlier. His voice in my mom's living room, pacing near the window. Bluetooth in one ear, oblivious that I was just 10 feet away on the couch with a book I wasn't reading. Yeah, the bottle's ready. Red ribbon, exactly like he likes it. Looks ceremonial as hell, they'll eat it up. Trust me, I'd tuned it out. Thought it was another donor stunt, some gala prop meant to impress brass or keep corporate sponsors feeling special. Ethan was always involved in the fluff. Centerpieces, gift bags, signature drinks. He called it morale engineering. But now, in my head, his tone felt off. Too careful. Another memory hit, sharper this time. A few days after that call, he'd been in the kitchen practicing a toast. Said he had to get the cadence right. One moment, one message, he'd repeated under his breath, like he was testing how it would sound in a room full of applause. Then again, slower. One moment, one message. I'd rolled my eyes at the time. Sounded like bad PR copy. Now it sounded like a trigger. Back in the ballroom, I looked at the base of the bar. There was a trash bin tucked just behind the counter. Nothing special. But I remembered something. That same night he'd practiced the toast, I'd gone to toss out a tea bag and seen a thin red ribbon in the kitchen trash. Clean, unwrinkled, tied in a ceremonial loop. That wasn't a party bow. That was for show, for presentation, for a bottle meant to be noticed. And in that ballroom, there'd only been one bottle that got handed off with that kind of care, the one the commander nearly drank. I leaned back in my chair, fingers clenched in my lap. He wasn't just arrogant. He wasn't just a glory hound who needed rooms to clap for him. He was part of it. I didn't know how deep yet. Didn't know if he'd mixed the vial or just played delivery boy. But I knew this. He didn't trip and fall into that plot. He rehearsed it. He planned his words, polished the moment, probably imagined the applause. He thought he was untouchable. That's what made him dangerous. And the worst part? He probably still believed he'd done the right thing, that it was all part of the show. A message, a moment. My heart thudded once, hard. No ribbon in the trash was ever just a ribbon. The call came the next morning. Block number, 2 rings, then silence. This is Special Agent Hale with NCIS. We'd like to ask you a few questions by noon. I was sitting in a plain gray room on Fort Belvoir. No clock, no window. Just me, Hale, and a second agent who didn't speak. The kind of silence that's designed to sweat you, only I didn't sweat. I waited. Hale pulled out a notepad and started easy. You spoke to Commander Brightman in German. What made you intervene? I told him what I saw. The drop, the signal, the server's pace. I listed it all without emotion. Then I gave them the terms I overheard in the corridor. GHOST pallets, museum dock, override tags, surge orders, and someone they called the kid who loves handshakes. Hale's pen stopped. He looked up. You sure that's the phrase? Verbatim? He nodded. We thought so. He slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Procurement logs. Surge authorizations routed through a local museum's military exhibit. Shipping manifests with odd gaps. Tags approved under Ethan's ID highlighted. Everywhere. I stared down at the pages. Cold, clean, unmistakable. Did you know? Hale asked. I shook my head once. I suspected. Last night made it clear. He leaned back. Your lane is observation. Stay in it. We'll handle the rest. I gave the tiniest nod. Didn't trust myself to speak. They released me 30 minutes later. I didn't make it to the parking lot before Ethan found me. He stepped out from behind a concrete pillar like a damn movie scene, wild-eyed and trying too hard to look calm. Hey, can we talk? I didn't answer, just kept walking toward my car. Rachel, please. I stopped halfway across the sidewalk. You followed me? I had to. I knew you were being questioned. They said nothing. They're locking me out of everything. My email's frozen. Probably because you're in it. His face twitched. Look, I didn't know what it was at first. Creighton said it was all sanctioned. Just reroutes, temporary stuff to save costs. You rehearsed a toast for a poisoning, Ethan. His voice cracked. I thought it was symbolic. A message bottle. I didn't know it was real until it was too late. I swear on my life, I didn't plan that part. He stepped closer, voice softening. Please don't tell her. Don't drag my wife into this. You know how she looks at me. You know what I mean to her. She's my sister. I know. His eyes welled up. Which is why I'm begging you. You don't have to lie. Just don't confirm anything. Let it die quiet. Let them handle it. I'm just a pawn. You said it yourself. I'm not that smart. I followed orders. I didn't build this thing. I didn't want it. His tears came fast. Too fast. Then, just as quick, the flip. He pointed at me. You think you're better? Just because you're invisible and quiet and you can decode a room before someone finishes their sentence, you act like you're above it. But you're not. You're part of the same damn machine. You just get off pretending you're cleaner. I didn't flinch. You done? His hand dropped. His voice dropped too. If you say something, she'll leave. And you know it, I looked him dead in the eye. Then maybe she should. I turned and walked. He didn't follow, and I didn't promise him a damn thing. The glass in the observation room was so clean it barely looked real. I sat behind it with Hale and two others, arms crossed, watching Ethan unravel in real time. He was in the chair across from the interrogator, neutral room, government gray, just like mine had been, except his came with a file thick enough to collapse a table. Phase interrogation, controlled, strategic, designed to peel back lies in layers. They started with the emails. The ones he'd sent to the contractor with phrases like expedited through education channels and museum intake as the holding zone. He tried to laugh it off. Look, that's just standard operations lingo. Anyone in procurement knows how loose this language gets. They rolled a call next. Audio only, Ethan's voice clear as hell. He'll drink it during the toast. One moment, one message. That's all we need. He blinked, swallowed. That was about the bottle ceremony. I thought it was symbolic. They cut to a video clip. Ethan at a kitchen counter, red ribbon in hand, smoothing it like it was silk. He looked proud, like a little kid with a secret he thought made him important. You people are twisting everything, he snapped. You're not being twisted, the interrogator said calmly. You're being documented. Ethan leaned forward, palms flat on the table. I didn't plan it. You authorized it. Creighton told me to. You still did it. He stared at the glass, right through it, right at me, though he couldn't see me. And then he said it. Quiet, bitter. You're not useless. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. Later, the clips leaked. Not all of them, just the key pieces. Ethan's voice, the ribbon, the phrase about the toast, and of course, the German whisper. Somebody caught that moment from the gala on video. A shaky shot of me touching the commander's arm and murmuring in a language half the country doesn't understand. Twitter threads exploded. Some said I was a hero, others said I staged it. A few called me a plant, a fake, a deep state pawn who made up the whole thing for attention. I ignored them all. But the worst part was watching the formal arrest. I stood across the street from my sister's house, parked in the shade behind a utility van. Two agents walked Ethan out in cuffs, button-down shirt wrinkled, hair uncombed. His neighbors stood frozen at the end of their driveways. He didn't look angry. He looked small. Inside the doorway, my sister collapsed. I saw it happen. She folded to her knees like something had been yanked out of her. One of the agents tried to help. She waved him off. I didn't move. I couldn't. She called me that night. Didn't scream. Didn't sob. Just sat on the phone breathing for a full minute before whispering, "You really didn't know?" I knew something. Not everything. She was quiet again. Then she asked, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because you wouldn't have believed me." Silence. And then, "What do I do now?" I didn't have a perfect answer, but I said, "Start by telling the truth." To yourself, she hung up. I stared at the blank screen for a long time. Not angry, not smug, just steady. You can love someone and still choose to not lie for them, especially when the truth doesn't care who you're related to. The courthouse steps were a gauntlet. Cameras, reporters, microphones shoved over the rope line. Everyone looking for the same headline. Defense contractor turned poison mule faces sentencing today. Family silent. I walked in next to my sister, close enough to shield her without touching. My mom was behind us, shaking her head like we were walking into a game show instead of federal court. I didn't bother speaking. There was nothing left to explain. Inside, it was cold. Fluorescents humming. Pews full of uniforms, press, legal aides scrolling through their phones. I sat in the second row. My sister sat one row ahead, hands folded so tight her knuckles went white. Ethan entered in cuffs, escorted, still wearing a suit like the fabric might save his pride. He scanned the gallery, looking for a friend. He didn't find one. The prosecution went first. They didn't try for drama, just facts. Clean, brutal, surgical. They showed logistics trails, how ghost pallets were processed, logged, and marked as delivered when nothing ever left the warehouse. How those fake shipments left forward units short of encrypted comms, water filters, even combat-grade meds. One convoy waited 7 days for a resupply that never came. One Marine lost his leg after a tourniquet never arrived. The invoices looked boring to anyone who didn't understand the system. I did. Every forged tag and rerouted barcode felt like a gut punch. Then Ethan's lawyer stood. She painted him as a product of stress, said the defense world made gray areas feel like policy, claimed he was just following the leadership above him, trusting the system, used words like culture and environment like they were shields. She looked at us, at me, when she said, "There are people in this room who think quiet observation makes you better than the people doing the dirty work. But observation is an action." Ethan acted. I didn't blink. Then came the judge. He asked if Ethan wanted to speak. Ethan stood, cleared his throat, fidgeted with his tie, which had no knot anymore, just a loose piece of fabric around his neck. I see now that mistakes were made," he said. "I never intended harm. I thought I was helping streamline a broken system. I regret the fallout. Like this was a leak, not a choice." He didn't apologize to the Marine, or the units who waited, or my sister. He didn't look at her once. The judge didn't say much either. Just the sentence. 7 years, no parole, and full restitution. There were no cheers. Just a shift in the air, a pressure release. As the bailiff led Ethan out, my sister finally stood. She didn't cry, didn't speak. She just walked out with her head high. Outside, the reporters tried to surround her. She kept walking. Someone asked, "Ma'am, do you still support your husband?" She paused, just for a second, then said, "I support truth," and kept going. I followed behind her. She didn't need saving. She needed room. And now, finally, she had it. I got home, kicked off my boots, and didn't turn on the lights. Just sat at the edge of the couch, room dim, blinds halfway shut. The courtroom still echoed in my head, paper shuffling, Ethan clearing his throat, that word fallout like it wasn't people. I pulled out my journal, flipped past the pages of names, dates, places only I understood. Found a blank one. Wrote, "Victory's not about dragging someone down. It's about not becoming someone you can't live with." I capped the pen and sat still for a minute. The fridge hummed. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. Twice. Life. Just being life. I thought about my niece. Her laugh when I let her climb into my lap with chocolate on her hands. The way she still mispronounced helicopter, no matter how many times I corrected her. That survives. Thought about the Tuesday supply drops that now landed on time. No ghost pallets, no faked barcodes. Just gear and food and meds where they belonged. That survives. Thought about my sister. Head up outside that courthouse, walking past reporters like she owed nobody a damn thing. She survives, too. I thought about Ethan's last words. "You're not useless." He said it like it hurt to admit, like he meant it more as a confession than respect. And yeah, it landed. Not because I needed it, but because he needed to say it before they locked the door behind him. I wrote one more line in my journal. I never needed their noise to know my own worth. Then I closed it. People talk like silence is weakness. Like if you don't clap back or speak up, you're invisible. But silence, when it's chosen, not forced, is power. It's a weapon, a boundary, a tool. I didn't defend myself at the gala. I didn't scream in the interrogation room. I didn't drag Ethan through the mud. I didn't need to. The truth did what truth always does. It stood. And when the noise dies down, when the headlines fade, silence is what I come back to. Not because I'm hiding, because I've already said enough. Let me ask you something. Would you stay silent to protect your family? Or speak up for the truth, even if it costs you everything? Tell me in the comments. And if this hit home, don't forget to like and subscribe.